Hey everyone, this is Rachel over at Moonlight Library. Should that be my theme song? Nope. So today I'm here to talk to you about sad books versus depressing books. Let's smile after that. Yes. Is this a smiley subject? No. I wouldn't say so. I would not think so. But here we go. I recently read Ghost World by David Clowes. Clowes? Yeah. So I'd been meaning to read this for a long time, and I realized that this book just overwhelmingly depressed me. It put me in a pit of sorrow. But I also was thinking, what is the difference between I hated how this book made me feel, whereas the saddest book I've ever read, A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, is one of my favorite books in the world. And I cried miserably throughout it. Ghost World, I didn't cry in. It just put me in a lonely pit of despair. So what is that? What are those separate feelings? Why did I feel that way? What is the difference between these two books and the type of sadness they gave me? Let's go into sad books. Sad books, maybe they're tragic. This one is definitely tragic. Has a lot of trigger warnings. Sad books affect you, but do not put you in a pit of misery. Maybe this is a depressing book to some people, but for me, this is just labeled as sad. It is tragic and it is sad. Whereas depressing books don't have to make you sad. They just make you feel horrible every time you pick them up. Why is that? Why is that? I've come here today to explore those feelings. Will I be crying on camera? No, I won't be. But I will be discussing both these books filled with trigger warnings. Maybe I'll just post a thing with all the trigger warnings. So they might both have elements of sadness and depressedness, but is that a word? I couldn't tell you. But I believe they're separate types of books because I didn't feel hollow inside every time I picked this up. Whereas I felt hollow inside every time I picked this up. Let's go into why this affected me the way it did. Why did you affect me like this? Very beautiful, pretty book. But I think the thing about this book, this follows, that'd be a great idea. Let's tell you what the books are about. This is a graphic novel, and it's kind of a classic graphic novel. Did I give it 1 star? No, I gave it 2. But the thing about this book is it follows these 2 teenage girls as they are coming into adulthood. They're out of high school, but they're exploring what it means to be an adult or what it means to be becoming an adult and figuring out their lives. But that's not really it. It's really just glimpses into times of them being horrible humans. But then again, aren't we all exploring that side of ourselves at some point? Talking about horrifying things, joking about abysmal topics that aren't jokes and just aren't funny, the loneliness, the despair. We feel it. A good amount of us, I'm pretty sure, feel it. I'm not a depressed individual, but I felt like this book made me feel horrible, just horrible. I'm not saying it gave me depression because that's not how that works. I'm not an expert on any of these subjects, but every time I opened it, I was just so, like I just wanted to puke with, I just couldn't handle some of the subject matter. And I've never had a book trigger me in general, I think. This book triggered me. I'm not a triggerable person, but this was triggering. It affected my whole life. It affected my reading. I I just felt disgusted throughout. Why did I give it 2 stars? That's a wonderful question. Oh God, just the way they treat people, you know? And just the nothingness and the absurdity of life and the look into like humanity, and in the end, spoiler, not really. It's like years later, I believe, they don't really clue you into that. And one of the girls sees the other one in a cafe and they're obviously no longer friends. And I felt a pang of sadness. A pang happened, and I said, well, that was an okay conclusion, saying like, what is the meaning of things? What's the meaning of friendship? What is it like when people drift apart? That got me. But everything else, the subject matter was just like, it felt like it was toying with how to be disgusting and how to be whatever. It was like Transmetropolitan meets Daria in this absurdly way grosser way. I know people love this book, but I think it just didn't resonate with me the way that it resonates with others. It just gave me that despair that I spoke about. But there's a big difference between a sad book. This is the story of 4 people living in New York, 4 men, as they go about their lives, and they're all friends, but like there's a lot of tragic stuff that happens, especially surrounding this one character, Jude, and Jude's backstory, which just everything, the way Hanya Yanagihara builds these characters up. Obviously there's a big difference between how much time you have to put into your characters when one is very thin and one's very thick. You know, this took a while. It probably took me the same amount of time to read. Not really. But this was obsessively readable. Obsessively, like, I fell in love with the characters. So I felt pain because of my love for them. I felt pain because of the relationship that was built between what felt like me and the characters, and how I started to view them. Where do I go with this discussion? What do you think is a sad book and what's a depressing book? Have I ever read a book that made me feel the way that this book did? Maybe American Psycho, but that's a little different, the way that affected me, because I did love that book. What was it about this book? Was it because it questioned morality in a way that I was uncomfortable with? Whereas I do believe that I question morality quite often. So why was I uncomfortable with this style of questioning? All they were doing was talking. Throughout the whole book, it's just them having conversations that put me in a place of an observer that didn't feel comfortable with the types of questions and the types of the way they looked at the world. Whereas this book included me on the action of what happened and pulled me into the universe of who these characters are in a different way. It's obvious why this one made me feel the way I did. But where's the difference between this and this? I think with this, you're following people that aren't the bad guy. They're not portrayed as perfect people, but they're also not portrayed as horrible individuals that you're following. Maybe that's it, because American Psycho, Patrick Bateman is a horrible person that you're following, so it made me morally disgusted. And this one, you're following 2 people that speak about things in a way that you're like, are you gonna go kill someone? Because you are just... So maybe that's what makes me uncomfortable with this sort of book, and what puts me into feeling like this is a depressing book, a book that puts you down and makes you feel horrible sorts of ways. In the end, this is a great book, and this is good to some people, but not me. Please let me know what you thought of this book if you read it. Also this book if you read it. Let me know how you felt about both of these. And if you like this, please tell me why you liked it. I would genuinely like to know people's commentary on it and why they enjoyed it compared to how I interacted with it. I think it'd be interesting. Sad books are a thing and depressing books are a thing. Are they the same? Maybe. Do you understand what I'm saying? Maybe. Please let me know. I would love to have some input on this quandary. Thank you. That's all I have to say. Thank you for joining me. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe because I talk about random things and this is just what I'm talking about today. Bye.